Welcome to Literary AF Podcast.
Oi, hello there, governors. Sorry, I regret that opening. Welcome back to Literary AF Podcast. It's the podcast where we get literary as fudge. I'm sorry. We are going to finish up our discussion of Breaking Dawn, the book, the last Twilight book.
Yep.
Written by the queen of literature herself, Stephanie Meyer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I say that, because it's like, it sounds like I'm being sarcastic, and I guess I kind of am, but I also, I do genuinely like her.
Yeah.
So, I don't mean that to be, sarcastic as, oh, she's bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that to be, how I call Kesha the queen of music, where it's I genuinely enjoy Kesha, but I like to overemphasize it a bit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are recording this directly after we recorded our first episode, so we're just going to get right back into our conversation.
Yep.
If you remember from last time, we had Bella and Edward got married. She got pregnant. The book switches to Jacob's perspective, and he's trying to protect the baby.
Yep.
She starts dying because the baby's growing really fast, and
yep. She has to drink blood.
Oh, that's
as
true.
A human. We didn't mention this before, but they give Bella just a sippy cup of blood to drink all the time, and she's like, "Wow, this is really good."
Yeah, that's a really awkward thing.
Yeah.
So then we ended it where Jacob and Edward are licking and kissing her while she's dying.
Yeah. When you say it like that.
That is kind of what happens.
That is totally what happens, but yes.
Yeah. And now we get to talk about all the juicy stuff.
Yeah.
So let's start with Renesmee.
Renesmee.
First off, I hated that name so much.
Yeah. No. Oh man, I have something to add to this. Okay. The full name of the baby is Renesmee Carly, because it's Renee and Esme, and
Charlie
then
and
Carlisle Charlie.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that reminds me of certain friends of ours who name all their pets after one thing that the wife likes and one thing that the husband likes.
Yep.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know.
Our listeners might not, unless they're listening to this episode. Hey, Kane, what's up? Anyway, so when I read the name Renesmee, I was like, oh, this is so stupid.
Yeah.
This was... Okay, so I tried... When I first read Twilight, I really gave it a fair chance, and I actually did like the first book quite a bit, and I liked Eclipse quite a bit. Or wait, Eclipse is the third book, right?
Yeah, it was, yep.
Yeah. I had my problems with Breaking Dawn, but that's just because it's such a downer book. But then when I got to Renesmee, I was like, okay, this is actually stupid. I couldn't not hate it.
Yeah.
And then so they deliver the baby, and Jacob wants to kill it, right?
At first, he's like, I'm going to go downstairs and kill this baby because this baby killed Bella.
Yeah, and he thinks that his whole attraction to Bella has been leading up to this moment of him killing this abomination baby.
Yeah.
And then he sees it, and what happens? Do you have the quote by any chance?
I'm looking it up right now.
Okay. It's such a juicy one that it's worth it.
The murderer stared past Rosalie's shoulder at me, its gaze focused than any newborn creature's gaze should be. That's a weird sentence. Warm brown eyes, the color of milk chocolate, the exact same color that Bella's had been. My shaking jerked to a stop. The heat flooded through me, stronger than before. But it was a new kind of heat. Not a burning. It was a glowing. Everything inside me came undone as I stared at the tiny porcelain face of the half-vampire, half-human baby. All the lines that held me to my life were sliced apart in swift cuts, like clipping the strings to a bunch of balloons. Everything that made me who I was, my love for the dead girl upstairs, my love for my father, my loyalty to my new pack, the love for my other brothers, my hatred for my enemies, the love... my name, myself, disconnected from me in that second. Snip, 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 and floated up into space. I was not left drifting. A new string held me where I was. Not one string, but a million. Not strings, but steel cables. A million steel cables all tying me to one thing, to the very center of the universe. I could see that now, how the universe swirled around this one point. I'd never seen the symmetry of the universe before, but this was plain. The gravity of the earth stood no longer tied. The gravity of the earth no longer tied to me, to the place where I stood. It was the baby girl in the blonde vampire's arms that held me here now. It was Renesmee. From upstairs there was a new sound, the only sound that could touch me in this endless instant. A frantic pounding, a racing beat, a changing heart. That was Bella.
Yeah, so he imprints on the baby, and it's like the entire world falls away.
And nothing else matters but this baby.
You know, actually, if it was like a... Because I had a similar moment like when my niece was born, where I was just like, this is like the most important thing. Like, this little baby I'm holding is just like it was like an instant like, oh, like I actually love this kid. Like, not like, but the thing that makes it creepy in the book is that imprinting is like a soulmate thing.
Yeah.
So it's like romantic love mixed with like a genuine, like, but it's not like a parental love, or it's not like a I want to take care of this child love. It's like a soulmate thing.
Yeah, no, this is mine forever kind of thing.
And I want to, beyond him like just imprinting on a baby, which I think is weird enough on its own, I kind of want to just talk about imprinting in general and why I think it's like an annoying or like a stupid concept. Mm-hmm. Just like, to me it's, I don't know, it takes away any like
choice.
Yeah, like the agency is gone. So it's like, oh, I see this person and I'm instantly in love with them beyond all things. Nothing else matters. Like, this is my destiny now.
Well, I can see why you would hate something like that or just dislike it. I do, because I read a lot of supernatural romances. It's a theme that definitely pops up a lot. And
well, and it happens in classic literature too, where it's like, oh, this is my destiny. Like,
this
like
is
Romeo and Juliet. Like, that's like,
yeah,
that was the thing. They believed they were destined for each other.
Yeah.
But
one of my like favorite supernatural books that I've read recently was like, this werewolf imprints on this girl, but they hate each other. And he's like, I love you, but I also hate you so much. And I thought that was really fun.
Yeah. But I guess I just hate the idea too of like, because she never imprints on him. Like,
she doesn't imprint on him, but she views him in like a this is mine kind of way.
No, I know. It's really handy or like really good of the author for it all to work out.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Where it's just like, there's nothing that is making it work out for the kid. Like, there's no like what if she didn't like Jacob?
Yeah.
Like, so is he just doomed to spend the rest of his life, the rest of eternity, because he doesn't age as long as he still transforms into a wolf, right?
Yeah, as long as he continues to transform, he'll never age.
So if he is tied to this vampire who never ages as well, he's not going to age unless he like actively kills himself. So it's like, it's a good thing it worked out, because otherwise he's in for like eternity of misery.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't know. I just don't like the idea of like I like the idea of destiny being like some nebulous thing where it's like, yeah, maybe there are soulmates or maybe there's like something joining people together.
Yeah.
But the process of imprinting feels too like defined for me.
Sure.
Where it's like, oh, yeah, this is a thing that happens and now he doesn't have a choice. And also, she doesn't really have a choice in the matter either because she's a baby.
She's a baby. She's a really smart baby, though.
Oh, she is, and she's a very powerful baby. And she develops super fast. And that tweet that showed the pictures of the baby from the movie, that is so funny. If you guys, I don't know what to look up, but it's like, I think the tweet was like something like, therapist, the Twilight baby isn't real and can't hurt you. And then it's like Twilight baby, and then it shows 3 pictures from the movie.
Yeah.
And the baby just looks like this hideous monster. Like, its eyes are in the wrong spot. And it's like,
I wish they hadn't used like CGI exclusively for the baby. It could have been a lot better.
A completely CGI baby is weird. They should just use the regular baby and then CGI'd its eyes to make it look all vampire-ish. But yeah, it's Renesmee is a little monster. Um, and then let's talk about Renesmee herself and how she ages super fast. And
Yeah. Bella Bella's pregnancy only lasts like a couple months,
yeah,
and then the baby's born, and then she starts growing like extremely fast, and
Yeah.
she's like a toddler within months.
and then like she learns how to talk very quickly. Like, her and Bella are like she goes from being like a newborn to being like almost a 5-year-old within like
Basically, yeah. Because she
with,
can, well, first off, when she's a baby, she can communicate,
Mhm.
and she like touches your face and she puts her thoughts in your head. She's actually, Edward is able to read her mind while she's in the womb.
Yeah, I remember thinking that was weird.
Yeah. And then
And
she grows
especially
up
because
real
the baby
fast.
has like fully formed thoughts about how like it loves its mother, and it's like, how does the baby understand where it is, or like, you know what I mean? Like,
Smart vampire baby.
way too smart.
Too smart vampire baby. I do like that when Bella realizes that she imprinted, or Jacob imprinted on her baby, she gets really mad and like
Yeah.
beats the crap out of him.
And that is almost the only moment where newborn Bella loses control. Let's shift into that.
Yeah, that's true.
So the whole book has been warning about like, or actually almost the whole series
The whole
has been
series has
warning
been
about
warning this, yeah.
when you become a vampire at first, you can't control yourself. You're a danger to any human nearby. You're a danger to other vampires because you're so much stronger when you're a newborn.
Yes.
Like she would be a danger to Jacob. She'd be a danger to Charlie. She'd be a danger to the kid.
Basically,
Bella-
she'd have to live in seclusion for a couple years to get
Yeah.
herself under control.
And it's really implied that like it's a nasty process.
Yeah.
The actual changing, I think, is only one chapter.
Yeah. Just
and it
that
is-
one chapter where she's on the operating table. She's strapped down for the whole thing.
Yeah, I remember it being like, it did feel kind of harrowing. Like it didn't like, it didn't seem like a pleasant process.
No.
But
But she was also under a lot of painkillers and couldn't move or anything, so.
but it's dealt with in one chapter, and then the very next chapter, she goes up to hunt with Edward, right? Like she's transformed. She sees herself in the mirror. She's so beautiful.
Yeah.
She wants to see her kid, but they don't trust her because she's a new vampire.
Yeah.
And then they go out to hunt with Edward.
Yep.
And she sniffs a human, and they're like, oh no, she's going to go after him.
Yeah.
But she's like able to instantly control herself
Yes.
and run away. And I feel like it was such a missed opportunity. Like, you could have had this cool idea of like the Bella not being in control, or Bella like wrestling with this like like immortal, like the mix of it's a curse, but it's also like a blessing because
Yeah.
you're never going to age and you're super powerful.
Yeah. I wanted to see Bella's transformation, and I wanted to see Bella's struggle. And I
Yeah.
remember when the book first came out and I read that doesn't happen, I was super disappointed.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that was that it kind of goes to a bigger point, which I think we'll get to at the very end, about how like everything that's been set up as a conflict is like wiped away.
Mm-hmm.
And how like the whole book is very like, oh, here's the thing, and then don't worry about it.
Right.
Or it's like, here's a big, like, the Volturi here, watch out. Oh, don't worry about it, it's
Yeah.
fine.
That's been happening through the whole series. Oh no, James is gonna kill you. Oh, no, he didn't.
Don't worry, Edward dealt with it while you were
Edward
unconscious.
dealt with it off screen.
But even
yeah.
that, it's like, well, he attacked her and she got hurt and she went unconscious, and then Edward saved her while she was unconscious.
Yes.
This one is straight up like, hey, anything that you've been told is going to be bad, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. Here's a quote. Wait, Jasper gasped. She didn't hunt the humans? She was starting to, Edward said, clearly enjoying himself. My teeth ground together. She was entirely focused on the hunt. What happened? Carlyle interjected. His eyes were suddenly bright, an amazed smile beginning to form on his face. It reminded me of before, when he'd wanted the details on my transformation experience, the thrill of new information. Edward leaned toward him, animated. She heard me behind her and reacted defensively. As soon as my pursuit broke into her concentration, she snapped right out of it. I've never seen anything equal to her. She realized at once what was happening, and then she held her breath and ran away. Whoa, Emmett murmured. Seriously?
Yeah, this This is actually my main problem with this book.
Yes.
Is Bella goes from being like weak and almost useless to being all powerful.
Yes.
And like it, to me, like there's no conflict in that. There's no like tension. There's no stakes because, you know, she's instantly better than all the vampires around her.
She does like a little flippy thing when she's like jumping out a window, and Edward's like, "Wow, that was graceful even for a vampire."
Even for a vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like she goes from being like there was a certain tension in the earlier books of like,
she's
okay,
so
Bella's
incapable that she needs help all the time.
Yeah, and she's surrounded by really powerful creatures.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a certain like, even if you don't think Bella's gonna die, there's still like a certain tension of like, well, she could.
Yeah.
And in this one, it's like, well, she's better. She goes from being like Batman to Superman. Like,
yeah. All right.
She doesn't need cleverness anymore. She's now the most powerful.
She's just suddenly OP.
And yeah, she like her powers are better than every other vampire, and she's instantly in control of them.
Yeah.
Like,
no hunger problems, no emotion problems.
She's able to meet Charlie right away, even though she was like warned that would be like the biggest danger.
Yeah, she wouldn't be able to see her friends and family anymore for years because she's a vampire now. But all she does is throw in some contact lenses, and then she can see her father. So.
And you know, I just want to talk about like. I feel like too, this book is kind of missing the whole like high school element to it, like the whole high school romance stuff.
Yeah.
Because in the other ones, it was like kind of grounded in reality where she was still in school. She had normal friends. She had like Mike always after her.
Yeah.
And, Anna Kendrick from the movie. I can't remember what she's like.
Angela?
Her name is. Angela? Yeah.
I think it's Angela.
She has like, you know, human friends and stuff.
Yeah.
And then in this one, it's just like, that's all gone. This book is like totally in the supernatural realm.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just feel like there's a certain like it's missing a little bit, or for me anyway. I miss the normal stuff.
Yeah.
The normalcy.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
What else? I feel like there's like another big thing that we're forgetting. Should we talk about the Volturi and the fake conflict?
I do. I bookmarked the point where Jacob calls Renesmee Nessie.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
Bella freaks out, and Jacob is like, "You called her that, and you nicknamed her after the Loch Ness monster." I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, I can't get over how the dynamic is so weird.
Yeah.
Like, my newborn daughter, who's like your girlfriend, kind of.
Yeah.
Of the guy who up until 5 minutes ago was in love with me. Like, it's so weird. We should talk about the Volturi a little bit.
The Volturi? I do have a description of Renesmee at 3 months old bookmarked.
Okay, let's hear it.
You want to read? I can read that out. At 3 months, Renesmee could have been a big 1-year-old or a small 2-year-old. She wasn't shaped exactly like a toddler. She was leaner and more graceful. Her proportions were more even, more like an adult. Her bronze ringlets hung to her waist, and I couldn't bear to cut them, even if Alice would have allowed it. Renesmee could speak with flawless grammar and articulation, but she rarely bothered, preferring to simply show people what she wanted. She could not walk, but she could run and dance, and she could read.
Oh my gosh. To me, that drives me crazy, actually. Like, her baby is already perfect and can speak, and like, but she has psychic powers, so she doesn't even need to speak.
Yeah.
Like,
I'd been reading Tennyson to her one night because the flow and rhythm of his poetry seemed restful.
Yeah, Alfred Lord Tennyson to a baby, who the baby instantly gets it.
And then she reads it. There is sweet music here, she read without hesitation, that softer falls than petals from blown roses on the grass, or night dews on still waters between the walls of shadowy granite in gleaming paths.
No, I'm no...
3-month-old baby is reading Tennyson for bedtime.
I'm no writer, so I'm not going to presume to like tell Stephanie what she's doing, but like, would it not have been more like tense and more emotional if the baby stayed as a newborn and was in danger in this book? Like, she's instantly like another character who's like, you know, Bella doesn't even have to be a real mom to this kid.
No, she doesn't.
It's so weird.
Oh, I do remember what I did want to talk about.
Sure.
The vampire sex.
Oh, that's right.
So, when Bella turns into a vampire, she and Edward can finally have sex. The family gives them like a little cabin in the woods around the house, and that's where Edward and Bella go to have their couple time. And Bella is like, "This is the most amazing thing in the world. I literally don't want to do anything but this. How do you guys get anything done?" And Edward's response is basically that vampires don't have to sleep at night, so what else do they have to do? And
Oh, no.
yeah.
Think of the implication of that about how he used to sit in her room all night. What was he
Well,
doing?
there's a point here where he's like, well, Emmett's got his Rosalie and Jasper's got Alice. I didn't have anybody, so I put all my focus into reading and learning. So the reason
I'm
he's
sure
so
he did.
smart and so talented is because he was a virgin.
Yeah, the implication of some virgin vampire sitting in your room all night doing nothing.
Well, everybody else in the house is just going all night long. You're reading a book.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay, we really do have to mention the main...
The Volturi?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they're the main enemy in the book, kind
Yep.
of. So they show up after they find out about the baby, because they
Yes.
think it's...
They think it's a vampire baby.
Yeah, because there was that one village where they used to bite babies, and the babies turned into monsters that would destroy the village.
Everybody, yeah. The babies just wiped out a whole village because they didn't have any self-control.
So then the Volturi show up in numbers. The Cullens gather all of their other vampire
They
friends
put a
who you've
team
never
together.
met before.
Yes.
Or who like showed up briefly in other parts, but are just like,
Yeah.
I feel like there's like ones from Egypt and ones from South America and stuff that show up.
Yep.
And they have this big standoff where Bella's like protecting the good vampires with her like mind barrier thing,
Yes.
while Arrow or whatever the Volturi guy's name
Arrow.
is, he's trying to like attack them with his powers.
And Aro is just trying to he's in the middle talking, but he's got like two, I don't know what to call them, associates. There's one named Jane and the other one whose name I can't remember.
Yeah.
Jane has if she uses her power on you, she's inflicting torture on you.
Yeah.
And his is
So she does Crucio Curse.
yeah, yeah, basically. And the other guy's power is he shuts off all your senses so you can't do anything.
Okay.
And so Bella has her shields out over her entire group, and she can feel Jane and the other guy trying to use their powers on the group, but it's not getting through her shields.
And can't Aro control people or something?
Aro can read minds, but he has to touch you first.
Oh, because I thought there was something where they were afraid that Aro would gain control over somebody's powers.
It's because Aro's kind of in charge, and he collects vampires that have special powers.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
And they have there's one guy on their side who he uses his powers to make you feel it makes you second guess your relationships with other people. So he can use his power to split you off from
the latest
you guys.
X-Men power ever. This whole section to me actually strongly reminds me of something like the X-Men, where it's everyone has their own individual power, and it's present in the other books, but I feel like it's really exaggerated in this book.
Well, the thing is in the first book, Edward says some vampires have powers, but it's super rare. And in this book, I'm looking at the vampire index that's on the last page of my book, and I would say about 50% of these vampires all have special powers. So
It
it's
almost
really
seems
not as rare as Edward seems to think it is.
Other than, it's the Cullen family at first, Alice can see the future sometimes.
Yeah.
Edward can read minds sometimes. In the first book. That's kind of how it's set up.
Yeah.
And then it's revealed well, no, Edward can read everybody's mind except for Bella's.
Yeah.
And then there's all these other vampires that have powers too. And then this book is straight up okay, every vampire except for some members of the Cullen family have powers. It's okay. Because there's the one guy who can control the elements, and there's Shut Off Sense guy, and there's Crucio Curse girl,
There's-
and
On this page, there are 25 vampires that all have special powers. And this is just 6, 7, 8, 9. This is 10 clans, including the Volturi, and the Volturi Guard is 2 separate clans.
See, and I felt like this whole conflict was it was more than just about the baby. It was kind of they were using the baby as an excuse to head off against the Volturi.
That's absolutely what was happening, but it was the Volturi were using the baby as an excuse to fight the Cullens. Because if they kill the Cullens off, they can take Edward and Alice and keep them in the Volturi because they want those powers in their group.
Exactly, and also too, like, there's other parts in the book where it mentions, like, oh, the Volturi would come in and kill all the vampires in the city, or it murdered everyone except for these 2 girls because they didn't know the girls were there.
Yeah.
And, like, it feels like it's, like, this big conflict that's more than just the baby.
Yeah, and there's talk about how maybe in the future they'll band together and rid the world of the Volturi, but it never
happens.
Yeah.
It's like a Star Wars movie where they're like, okay, well, the Death Star is going to be a problem later, but for now we're fine.
Yeah, we'll deal with that problem when we come to it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, so that was actually my biggest problem in this book, is that the conflict is continually avoided. Like, we've kind of mentioned it before.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like there's so many times where it's like, oh, here's a big problem, and then, oh, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Like, the werewolves want to kill the baby. Oh, Jacob imprinted, so now the werewolves are fine with it.
Yeah, that's a recurring theme through all these books, which is kind of sad.
All right, we're nearing the end of the time for our second episode.
Okay.
I want to talk a little bit about how, like, Twilight's place in culture and stuff.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Because you and I both feel like Twilight gets a bit of a bum rap.
Yes.
Like, it's not a great book, and it does certainly have problems to it. But it doesn't deserve all the hate that it gets.
No, it's not the greatest, but people like it. And it was popular for a reason. And if it's something that you like, that's valid. People like things that other people don't like. That's just what it is.
And it really, like, combining the, like, regular, like, the mundane with the supernatural is, like, I feel like it's such a major thing now.
Yeah.
But I feel like before Harry Potter and Twilight, it was not as common.
No, not so much.
And so, like, I feel like Twilight did in some ways kind of pave the way for this, like, sub-fantasy genre.
Yeah. I feel like Twilight, it got people reading. Like, they say that about Harry Potter, but Twilight got teenage girls, especially, reading more books. And I feel like if Twilight had... Twilight influenced, like, the Hunger Games and the Divergent and all those books that came after it, right?
Yeah.
The love triangle, I feel like, was a huge thing in Twilight that other things have taken off of later.
So many things have stolen it. It really did have, like, such a huge impact on the YA
absolutely.
genre.
Because Harry Potter, even though it's kind of... It feels, like, younger focused.
Yeah.
And Twilight was more like the older YA books.
Yeah.
And when I was in high school, I read these, and I liked the first book.
Yeah,
I did. So.
Well, I was like 20 or 21 when I read the first book, and I did like it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, going back and trying to reread it now, it's a little insufferable with, like, how rambly and stuff it is. But
I think part of it is just I was young and I didn't read a lot, so Twilight got me reading, and Twilight was a jumping off point for me to broaden my horizons.
And and I've said this in other episodes, and I'll say it again, like, Twilight, the fact that Twilight constantly mentions, like, other literature, like classic literature and stuff, like, that's what got me into, or that's one of the things that got me into classic literature.
Yeah, that got me reading Jane Austen.
And so, like, I think there's some value to these books, even if there is a lot of stuff that's worth making fun of.
Yes. You got to be able to see the negative, but also see the positive impact that it had on everything.
And we were kind of talking about this off air.
Yeah.
But Twilight almost has, like, the whole, like, Justin Bieber effect, or, like, the Nickelback effect, where, like, here's something that it's, there's some stuff worth making fun of, or, maybe it's not great, but it becomes almost, like, popular to hate on it.
Yeah.
So it's like people hate on it a lot more than it deserves.
For sure. It's cool to hate Twilight. It's cool to hate Justin Bieber.
And so it's like, people mock it, but, like, it's really, really not that bad compared to some other stuff.
Yeah, there are worse things out there than vampires that sparkle.
And you know what? I kind of... for me, Breaking Dawn is where the book, like, really goes off the rails.
Yes.
I'd like to see Stephanie, like, sorry, Mrs. Meyer, whatever her name is. I'd like to see her tackle, like, maybe, like, a different series. Maybe,
I'm
like...
actually thinking about picking up her latest book called The Chemist. Came out late 2017. I think it's a more adult book.
I didn't even know about it, so yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to pick that one up and check it out. See where she is now, because it's been, like, 10 years or so.
Yeah, and I gotta say, out of all the, like, popular novelists of the double O's, whatever the first decade of the 2000s is called,
The aughts.
Stephanie has is the least, like, hate-worthy of all of them.
Yeah.
Because J.K. Rowling has gone, like...
Off the deep end with the wizard poops.
Oh, my gosh. Wizards vanishing their own poops because they don't know how to use toilets.
Yeah.
Or, like, actually, the snake was a Korean woman
Yeah.
who willingly turned into a slave.
Yeah, Stephanie she's a nice lady.
Yeah.
And
she seems like a nice Mormon lady who wants to write a romance book for teens.
She wrote books that made her happy. And that's good. Good for her.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's some stuff to make fun of. There's some, like, kind of wonky gender stuff when it comes to, like, how pregnancy makes you human or whatever. But, like, there's also some stuff that I think is worth reading. And if I had, like, a teen daughter and she was reading Twilight...
You wouldn't slap the book out of her hands?
No, I would, like, maybe make fun of her behind her back. But, no, it's not as bad as people say. And if you've never read it, and you're an adult, do you think there's value in, like, an adult reading these books?
If you go into it with an open mind, if you go into it thinking, oh, these books are dumb, I'm not going to like this book, you're going to have the worst time in the world. But if you want to experience something different, if you want to, this is a huge nostalgia trip. Like, these books take me right back into 2008, so.
Well, yeah, and I feel like they're too long to just do it as, like, a lark, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because they are pretty long.
Yeah.
So I think there's better things out there for an adult to read. But if you're, like, a young adult, if you're, like, 17, 18, 19, 20, whatever, and you're like, oh, I like romance or I like supernatural stuff, I would say the Twilight books are an okay read.
Yeah.
And you can read them pretty, like, they're long, but you can read them fairly fast.
Yeah, they're not, like, too big that you can't knock them out in a couple weekends.
Yeah, and they're long, but they're not overly challenging.
No, for sure.
And so I think that's all we have to say about Twilight.
Yeah. Not my cup of tea, but that's okay.
I don't know. Overall, I think I still kind of like the first one, I'd say.
Yeah.
And I think Eclipse has some moments.
Yeah.
Breaking Dawn, the first half of Breaking Dawn is pretty good. The second half is something else.
I would like to see it maybe rewritten from a different, I don't want to say perspective, but maybe like a more mature type of setting. Not 50 Shades. That is not even what I'm trying to play at here.
Oh, okay.
I would like to see it maybe rewritten, more concise. Maybe Stephanie takes another go at it now that it's been 10 years. See where it sits.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I think Twilight could be pretty good for like a 10 years later type book of like here's where these characters are at. Like,
yeah, that'd be really cool.
If she could do good conflict, maybe of like Edward or Bella's getting sick of Edward's controllingness or something. It's like they've got to work that out, or like I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah.
So you might want to. We should end this.
Sure.
Follow us on Twitter or whatever. I'm so bad at the plugs.
Follow me on Twitter at LiteraryAFPod, with Gmail, LiteraryAFPod@gmail.com, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify at LiteraryAF, also Podbean, LiteraryAF as well.
Yeah. So give us a listen. Wait, you're already listening.
Keep listening.
Yeah. Subscribe if you haven't. Whatever.
Yeah.
Do the stuff that you're supposed to do. And tune in next time when we read about something else. Something that's not Twilight.
Something not vampire related.
We'll decide.
Yeah.
All right. Peace out.
Bye-bye.